Okay. Okay, welcome to today. Whitney asked me to record and to run it. I don't know if there's any information. I don't know about anything. I know that there's an event going on if you want to be a part of it. It's kind of a 2-week Plexus. We're also going to do a reset sometime in that. Megan, is there anything you want to talk about that real quick?
Sure. So it is, it starts today. It's a 2-week, we're calling it the No Gain campaign. Gigi and Teva and Tia have been amazing, and Janelle, helping to get that up. We're doing 2, sometimes 3 posts a day, but mostly 2 posts a day, 8 giveaways during the course of the 2 weeks. And so there's some information about in there, of course, about gut health and how that impacts weight, and hormones and how that impacts weight. And there is, we're doing, I'm sorry, I got distracted. I heard some background noise. So those that want to do a reset are doing it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday together. So the posts on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are going to be reset heavy. So I'm just telling people, like, when I invite them, that if you're not doing the reset, that's totally okay. The point of this is to help us set up simple, sustainable habits that will serve us well through the holidays, so that we're not gaining weight, and we can maybe even lose some if you want. And there's just a lot of people that came to me that were like, I need accountability. So there's a tracker, and the tracker is sort of blank. And so there was a post on like setting your goals and figuring out, you know, what's doable and sustainable for you, whether that's intermittent fasting or whatever eating plan they want, you know, being consistent with your supplements, sleep, mindset. There's a little bit of everything in there.
And I think these things are super powerful for us to share with all of our teammates, because it helps them become a part of the community, and it helps them kind of have that reinforcement that they need about our products that they're taking. And then I also think that it's so cool that with this group, it wasn't like they had to make a purchase. So we can invite potentials to this. And again, that sparks their interest. And I think it's just really important that everyone's aware of that. And, you know, that we're making sure our teammates are aware. Yes, Carol.
What are the dates?
It started today.
Oh,
but you can still invite them. They can still come.
Okay. We have a message even. I think Megan threw one out there, and it was like, hey, it's not too late, you know? I mean, so I'm actually sending messages out today, and I've had so many people that are responding. Many who said—
What's the name of the group? What's the name of the group, please?
No Gains campaign. Sorry.
No
Gains campaign. And she shared it in our leaders thread, like the group.
It's been nuts just trying to get, we just had so much going on in Canada in the last week that it's just like.
But if you want to find the group, it's just scroll up a little bit. It's just, she just recently posted it, like what, yesterday or even today? Was it today? I think it was today, maybe.
I'll send it to you right now, Carol.
It's okay, I can find it. I'm really good at finding it. I just.
Or we can reshare it. So that's just something. And I think we're planning on doing it again in December. And so
yeah, we were, I'm sorry. Yeah, when we decided to do this, we're like, oh yeah, because Janille, so the way that this started was, yes, people came to me and they're like, I need accountability, but friggin' Bella, I love her to pieces, but she posted this thing in my stories that was like, do 3 resets and lose 20 pounds by New Year's. And somebody saw it and they're like, okay, I'm in. And I was like, what? I had to go look at the stories. And then I was like, okay. And then I was like, I don't know if I'm down for 3 resets between new, you know, here in January. So we talked about like, okay. And we didn't know like if we honestly could keep engagement up until January. So like, let's start with 2 weeks, and then we could run it again in December if there's a need or a want for that. Go ahead.
Plexus is launching, Reset is launching in Canada December 1st. So yes, we want it in December.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know, because I get to go on a coaching with others, emeralds and sapphires in this region, and they were all like, you might want to not exhaust your audience, because everybody's going to want to do it and do a reset in January. So, but we can totally do it.
Yeah, we just need to do in December and then relaunch it. And I mean, people need to be doing this at least once a month if they really want to, if their weight loss is a goal or even overall health. But it's important that they're still taking the triplex, because if they're just doing the reset.
Right. So
really want
most of the, right. And so I would say at least half or more of the people in this challenge group are not doing the reset. And that's okay, because there's a lot, they're going to get exposed to a lot of reset information and get FOMO.
You know what? I
And
have
so,
like 5 people. Well, like, I don't even know. I sent it out to like all of my people last night. And so I know that there's a good handful that joined. I've got one actually that her husband's doing the reset, but those people that did join have just done the reset within the last month. So I'm like, but they're my new people. So I was like, get in there, learn, like, you know, so I'm grateful that you're doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you, because I is so out of my comfort zone that I'm losing sleep over it. And I wouldn't be doing it. And Taba's like, oh, we can do this again in December. And I was like, not me, I'm done.
Taba's awesome. She's so natural at doing groups and like pre-posting stuff. Like she can have it all done in like a second. Like if you already have the group already and set, doing it the next time is like a no-brainer. It doesn't really require as much effort other than inviting people and keeping them engaged. That's it. So, which is a lot less stress. Starting it is the stressful time. So.
And I overthink. And so it took me all week last week. I was in the library working on these posts all week last week. So if you don't like them, don't tell me.
I'm sure they're amazing. I know they're amazing. I know you. So you do good scripts and good posts, and we're grateful for you. So thank you so much for doing all this.
Thank you. Can I just tell you guys about Momentum Meetup before you move on?
Wait, that's like a long time ago. What are you talking about?
No, it was this last week. It was Saturday.
Okay. I missed
the weekend. That's
I didn't know they called it that. I thought that was like the Brooke Hemingway thing. Sorry.
Oh, maybe that is what she calls hers.
That's
No,
what her and Emily used to call their thing, Momentum Movement.
Momentum
Meetup.
Momentum Meetup. So I don't know. This was the first ever, and so maybe it'll be bigger next year, but there were 500 locations across the country, and they were encouraging us to go on and register our location, and you could either make it public or private. So there were 2 in Raleigh. I live in North Carolina, that were public. So Dawn came up and went with me, and a new Silver on my team went with me, and then one of Dawn's girls. And it was so amazing. So here in Raleigh, there's this team. I'm telling you guys, one plexus is so amazing. So there's this team, and there's 2 diamonds and like a sapphire and like 3 emeralds. And they're all on the same team, and they were all so welcoming, and they invited us to go to dinner with them afterwards. And they're like, we have in-person events every month at this restaurant. We have opportunity events. And they said in 2018, when they were rolling, well, before COVID, they would have 100 to 200 people come to these meetup events, these opportunity events. And I was like, what is it? And she's like, now it's smaller. It's like, maybe 20 or 30 people. But she's like, bring your team, bring your potentials, bring your new VIPs. They hear a couple of testimonies, and then we do a little bit about the business. And I'm telling you, she's got, a diamond and a sapphire and 3 emeralds underneath her. So she must be doing something right. So that was really eye-opening to me, because I was like, I've never done any in-person events.
I want to do more. So you need to go to them. And then have the camera on live so we can watch it. We hear about them, but it's so different. So Kelly, I talk about one plexus. Kelly went to some random, we found her one in Atlanta that was run by, oh God, what's her name? What was the name of the person who ran it, Kelly?
It was Brittany
Howard.
Yes.
Brittany Howard. And they had, I think you had Genevieve there too, didn't you?
Yes. We had 5 diamonds.
And so Kelly went all by her lonesome, and I'm like, did you find people? No, she ended up finding her husband went with her, I think. Or no, who went with you?
My daddy,
Your
my
dad?
mom and my daddy.
Yeah.
Aww.
So they kind of embraced her, and she found some people. And so I haven't really talked to Kelly yet, because we didn't get home till late. We drove 9 hours each way to go to our event. So yeah, it was a long one, but yeah, we only had 2 in all of Canada. And Canada's bigger than the US. So imagine that we had 1 on this and 1 in this one. You could go to one of them.
Wow.
We had an event here an hour away from me, and I reached out, and I couldn't reach out to the person here because for some reason their email just kept crashing. So there was no way for me to find out about where to go.
Mm.
And then I reached out in Arkansas for some of my teammates. And I had a very odd invite. It was like, well, me and my team are going to be doing a potluck and we're going to be doing this. If you have people that want to bring food, they can come. And we'll show videos after 2 hours. And I thought, oh,
That was weird.
inviting my people, they were going to feel out of place. So I just didn't.
Our theme of our weekend was don't be weird. That was the whole thing. Krista Howland was our speaker, and she kept going, and she goes, and then you do that, but don't do that because that's weird. And just don't be weird. So that was like our getaway from the whole thing, is just, when you reach out to people, don't be weird.
Yeah, no, I think
Felt
that,
like that was weird.
I'm hoping those continue and that we get better, or maybe there's a little better way of inviting. I don't know. It was just a little odd.
Yeah,
They told
it
us
was
they'd
a,
be continuing. You were going to do more in Canada, so I'm sure they'll be doing them in the States too.
Yeah.
and we had our regional sales coach. She flew in from Arizona, and then she was flying down on Sunday for one in Georgia. So I think they're just figuring this out. So I don't know if it's going
Right.
to be a regular thing or not. But I was jazzed because I really connected with another Emerald, and it's always interesting to, she was like, she doesn't have a VA and she doesn't have project broadcasts. And I was like, oh my God, you need that. And I don't have a team page. And she's like, oh my God, you need your own team page. So, it's always interesting to chat with others, see what
And
they're doing
everyone-
differently.
And that's all of people's opinions, because one thing I've learned in this chapter is that we can all do things differently, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We can all be successful in our own way. And that's
Yeah.
actually, that ties into next. Does anyone else have anything to say that kind of ties into what we're kind of talking about, is finding out who we are and finding out like what we're made to be. Like, find your because is like, finding our why, but it's really like finding out who you are. And I felt like this chapter was kind of hard. Like, it's kind of scary to really like define who you are. It's like this thing, like it's kind of vulnerable and kind of scary to like openly say it. So I'm going to be asking you guys like some pretty, I feel like they're vulnerable questions about who you are. But we're going to talk about that. And it kind of talks about in 3 different sections. So define your core competency. That's like the hardest word to say. It's like, that's like finding out what your strengths, your skills, and that kind of what you're really good at. And then identify your avenue of expression. And that's like finding out how to express the things that you're good at, like how you're going to show up for that. And then releasing your spirit. And we'll talk a lot about that at the very end, because I think that's really going to be the core thing that's going to propel us to really finding out like our why and because of like really who we are. Okay. So we're going to talk about how we're going to define or describe our strengths. So strength is something that you're naturally good at, and something that you love to do, and something that makes you feel good after you're doing it. Okay. I love that they had questions to prompt us, because I mean, like when I was trying to think of what I was good at, I was like, I'm good at sports. And I was like trying to like think of things that I was like good at. Anyways, so I'm going to ask for some volunteers. What are some of your strengths?
I'm good at like analyzing and figuring out what works in a lot of different aspects of my life. Like if someone has fruit on the tree with whatever it is, horse training, Plexus, family raising kids, and I see that they've got that good fruit on the tree, then I'm obviously going to listen to them or like pick their brain. If it's working, I'm pretty good at kind of like sitting back and being like, just watching and not just jumping on something because someone's blowing smoke up my butt and they sound good. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm pretty good about
like analyzing
It's like-
things, taking information in, like interpreting information, using it.
discerning, I guess, too.
What'd you say? Sorry, missed that.
Discerning.
Oh, discerning. Yeah, I love that word. Yeah, discern, I feel like is a really good word, because that's like trying to know, you can figure out if it's good for you or bad for you. or good for someone else, or I love that. Does anybody else have any strengths they want to share?
I'll
Gigi.
share. I'll share just to join in the group here.
Yeah.
Strengths. I'm meeting people. I've never met a stranger. Everywhere I go, I talk to people, whether it's I've had people that have become customers of mine just from that over the years, but it's literally and become best friends. And it's somebody I met, at some mile in the grocery store, at the gas station, wherever. So it's kind of funny, but I feel like that's a strength that I can key in. And I also like to learn about these people and learn about just what makes them happy. And anyway, so that's probably one of my fun strengths.
I agree. One of the questions they ask is, people I trust have told me my strengths are. So what are some things that people are telling you your strengths are? I can tell Tava's strengths. She's busy, so she can't turn on her camera. She's really good at, I would say she's really good at giving advice. It's more of like her life experiences. She shares her life experience and helps you feel like you're being heard and understood through her life experiences. Like, she's a good listener, and
She's trusting.
Yeah, trusting, authentic, like down to earth kind of thing. Yeah.
Because I want to tell her everything because I feel like I can trust her.
Yeah.
So that's just Tava's amazing.
Does anybody else have anything that people tell them? I mean, I can tell you something about Carol. She's really fun.
I was gonna say, tell me, what do I
Really
need to know about
fun.
me?
Like, you are very attractive. Like, people are magnetized to you. Like, you're a magnet. People are drawn to you because you have a lot of energy. And
kind of like a gong show, and they're like, "What is going on?"
You're
And they
funny.
lean in. No,
You do. Make people laugh. People
Yeah.
like to laugh.
I like to laugh myself. Thank you.
I mean, I would give compliments. I don't know Amy and Kelly very well. I'm so sorry.
Kelly's a sweetheart. Oh my gosh, Kelly's an absolute sweetheart. We've only met in person once, but I always see her, she kind of sits back and takes things in. I see her do that. And then she's very motherly, I guess.
That was the responses I got whenever we sent that list of questions way back when. I got calm and that I listen and kind and observable.
Very sweet.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly how I see you.
Yeah. I feel like if you don't know some of your strengths, you need to ask your loving mirrors and ask them, what are some of your strengths? And then they can help you write these down, because sometimes it's kind of vulnerable to be like, what are the good things about me? It's kind of hard to say. Okay. So moving on to the next is, we're going to describe your skills. Now, the skills are basically, but skills and strengths are different. So a strength is something that you do naturally. You just do it. And a skill is an activity you do that reveals your strength. So like when I was saying I'm good at sports, that's more of a skill. So like I would say that my strength is I'm coordinated, and I don't know why I would say I'm coordinated, I can dance, like whatever. And so that helps me like with my skill in basketball and sports. And so like I'm athletic like that. So that's kind of how the skill would be. So my skill is I'm really good at sports. My strength is I'm coordinated, athletic. Does that make sense? So what are some of your guys' skills?
I kind of have the same thing as my strength, the listening and observing and just being friendly.
So what would be your skill on that? So those are like your strengths. Your skill would be that, can you guys help her to think of what would be a skill on that? Like something that she does physically, like actually do.
I was
What
going
is
to say she's very calming.
So like you're
Is that
easy
like a
to-
characteristic though?
Yeah, I mean, that would be more of a characteristic. So we're trying to think of like, so she would be really good at helping her teammates do something, like listening to their teammates' needs and finding out what they need. or recruiting people because they trust her and believe her. So recruiting, does that make sense? So
One of
I know-
Jen's skills is she's amazing at reels.
yeah, so like hers would be because she is authentic and outgoing, or, you know, can be outgoing on that sense online, and it draws people in. Or she's really good at figuring out how to do things and doing the internet, which helps her in that stuff too.
I'm really good at talking people down off a ledge.
Yes, that's
I've
true.
learned
She's
that about
talked
me.
me down. Mhm.
I've learned that about myself just in the last maybe 6 or 8 months. Like, and I'm able to, and I wish Jen was on here because she would totally go, yeah, because I do this. I always say, I'm going to say this. I'm going to give you a little tough love, but I'm going to give it from a place of love. Okay. And then I kind of give the straight up, but I say it with love.
That's
So, I
good.
mean, that's a skill I've learned a lot in the last year. Because I don't think you can sugarcoat everything. I think sometimes you have to say the hard things, you know?
And that's,
Yeah.
yeah. And so your strength is being real. Like you could be real with people and not be scared to tell them the truth. And your skill would be like, you know, what you said is like giving people.
Oh, believe me, I get the butterflies in my tummy before I say it and everything, but
But you
I
still do it though. Most people would just keep their mouth shut. Trust me, I know. There's a lot of times I bite my tongue. Let me just say that.
Or when someone says, that's it, I'm so sick of this, I'm going to quit. I always say, let's get on the phone. Let's talk. You know what I mean? And I find when you talk with people more than sending a message, oh my gosh, it's so powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, huge. So.
I love the questions. People tell me they appreciate it or like it when I do this, or I love doing. So also things that you love doing can be a skill because you tend to do the things that you love. So those are also some things that you can think about. So like when you think about your business, the things that you love doing in the business, those are a skill, and there's probably a strength in there that follows that because you continue to do it. So that's what I kind of like about this. So the next core competency is desire. And I feel like those are all kind of a little bit different because these are things that we kind of want to do or in the future or whatever. Some of the questions they asked is, what can you do to follow your dreams? And what actions can you take that would help you fulfill your desires? So I wanted to read this part because I think it's really important before we talk about some of our desires. The biggest thing we need to understand is don't wait until you know every single thing before you start moving. I feel like we hear this all the time. It's like when people don't want to share because they're too scared, the fear. It says that would be like waiting to take a trip and waiting for every light to be green before you leave. I mean, like that's never going to happen, which most people may never share because that's fear. Most people live their lives that way, waiting for things to be perfect before they act. And so that's one thing that I feel like we need to kind of constantly remind ourselves that things don't have to be perfect before we start. And I feel like some of us, I'm not talking about you in general, I'm just saying people in general have to have things perfectly before they do it. I mean, Megan, it makes me think about you, like, you know, about doing this group, going out of your comfort zone, you know, things don't have to be perfect because I'm going to tell you, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. I mean, we've heard that so many times, like those posts, I'm sure they're amazing and great and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, like the people that are wanting the information, they're going to get what they need. And I feel like that is something sometimes hard to like, it's like hard to process sometimes for me. So.
And Lacey, I know you're on here. Welcome, by the way. Lacey Relic is joining us, and I see that she's on here, but she's in a doctor's appointment, so she can't show herself right now or speak. But I am going to say, when it comes to exactly what we're talking about, things don't have to be perfect. Lacey, remember that things don't have to be perfect when we're doing anything. I will send messages out that aren't perfect. And maybe sometimes they come back, you know, as having been a mistake, but most of the time it helps me move that needle forward, right? In everything that we're doing. So anyway, yeah, I like that. And the part about desires, we really have to know what we want. And
yeah.
I've always struggled with that dream, doing the dream board thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been able to do it. Suddenly I'm being able to do it. And it's been kind of interesting. I feel like things are starting to happen because of that.
That's amazing.
So that's cool. Yeah.
So I love some of these questions. If money was no object, what would you do? I'm happiest when I mean, doesn't mean you're doing it right now, but I'm happiest when I And I'm excited when. Actions I can do to follow my dreams. Like those are all questions we can ask. Does anyone want to share some of their desires?
To be debt free.
Okay, yeah, I love that.
When all of my bills are paid and paid off, that is when I am happy.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
not- That's not the question.
I know. I
Money
knew
was
she
no
gonna pipe
option.
up. I knew she was going to pipe up.
I would travel a lot.
When I signed up, I was like, I'm gonna pay off my mortgage. Really? That's not exciting. That doesn't drive you to work. What
Right.
lights your fire?
Yeah, that's
I
what
want
they're
to go on a
really
vacation
asking.
with my husband.
What'd
What
you say?
tickles your fancy?
I said I want to go on a vacation with my husband. Like we
Yeah.
haven't done anything since our honeymoon.
Where?
I
Where?
don't know anywhere.
You gotta find out where.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Start thinking about your desires. Like, what are some things that you really want to do? Like, I kind of have this
I wanna
desire to
travel.
start a podcast. I don't know why, but I think about it sometimes randomly.
So
But then I'm like, I have
you
no
know,
idea what to talk about.
so I sometimes struggle, Gigi, also with, and maybe some of you do, like with goal setting and dreaming in relation to Plexus. And I thought it was so interesting the other day because my husband was like, "Oh, the Powerball is going to reach 2 billion now," and I was like, "What are you gonna do first when we win the Powerball?" And it was so much easier for me to answer that question than for me to dream in regard to me working for it this way.
Did you sit in that question and kind of figure out why you think that is?
No, I mean, it's just kind of like dawning on me now because I was like, oh, I was so easily able to answer that question yesterday when we were talking Powerball money. But when we're talking working for it,
You should
I
journal
like
about
lock
that.
up and I'm like, yeah, isn't that
So just
weird?
journal about
Anyone
that
else?
question. Why is that easier? Why is that easier for you?
I had the same thing, Megan. Like we got a Powerball. I'm like, okay, whatever, get a ticket. And my husband and I were having the same conversation. Well, what we won, and it was, I could like list things
Yeah.
off like really quickly. And maybe it was, and I think maybe it was easy for me to do that because the likelihood of me winning the lottery is so small that it was easier for me to say, hey, this is what I would do. Whereas like with Plexus, if you work the business and you do what, work it every day, then you can attain those things. And it might not be like what you can do with $500 million, but what you can do with the money that you do get, the
think
stuff like with Plexus, it's achievable, right? So it's almost like for me, it's like achievable. So it's almost like, oh, I don't want to hope too much. But like with the lottery, it's like, I know it's not going to happen. So it was easy for me to think about all those things. Did that make sense? at
It does
all?
make sense, but it's different for me. I think for me, the difference is, like, I think of the Powerball as just like, it takes the chains off because it's so much money that I just I can just be like, this is what I would do. Whereas like, if I'm working for it, building it, and then it still feels like there's constraints.
Mhm.
But there's really
So
not.
I
you know,
don't
you're
dream as
putting-
big.
But you're
I
putting
know, isn't
those
that funny?
constraints on, like those invisible constraints are something that you
Yeah.
put on yourself.
Yeah, I never really
literally-
like,
I know money stops us, but from doing certain things, but there's a lot of things that we can do that we say we can't do that don't actually really necessarily require that much money.
right.
But yeah, it's
And you
interesting
could make, yeah.
about it.
Because the answer to mine, if money were no object, I would live in Vermont. I would live near my parents. And so like, isn't that bizarre? Like, I mean, I
totally
could do that right now, regardless of how much money I make,
Yeah.
but
For some reason, you think money is the reason stopping you from doing it.
I mean, it sort of is because my husband would go if he didn't have to make money.
Yeah. But you can make money in Vermont, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just interesting how we put these things on ourselves that we think are almost like rules. Like we have to do this, this, and this before we do that. And it's just like these invisible rules that we put on ourselves. And for some reason they're there and they just mean so much. And when you hear someone else, they're like, but why? And you're like, well, I don't know, because they are, right? I don't know. Anyway.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're going to move on. So next is, I feel like this was the hardest question to ask. So we're going to the next part is identify your avenue of expression. So it's basically like expressing all those strengths, desires, skills, and that kind of stuff, and how we're going to express ourselves with doing that. But that one question, did you guys see it, is who I really am. I feel like that's a really hard question because we're not talking about your roles in your life, because we're going to talk about that in a second, but we're going to talk about who I really am. I feel like that's such a hard question to ask. It's so broad. It could be like,
So if you're going to talk about yourself outside of your roles, like, so much of like, I know for me, so much of my identity is being a mother, my,
that's more of a role.
you know,
That's
my
not-
position at work, being a wife, the calling, being, you know, have the calling I have in church and all these other things. And it's hard to, I really couldn't answer this question.
Yeah,
It
I
was
feel like
really hard.
Yeah, because we're not talking about your roles. We already know that you're a woman,
Yeah.
you're a mom, you're a whatever, you know, a network marketer. It's something outside of that. And so I feel like it was a really hard question to ask. Was anyone able to feel like they can answer it outside their roles of like a woman? I mean, like, I felt like I'm like a daughter of God, but again, like,
The role.
yeah, I felt like that was kind of more
Right,
of a
right,
role, but like, that's one, I feel like it's a little bit more than a role because it's like my number one thing that I know who I am. But yeah. Did anyone have anything that they felt like they could really write about?
I thought I did, but I don't know if I answered it right.
I feel like there's no
Um,
right or wrong answers, just so you know.
I just had capable, and then like I'm a child of God who is fully capable of achieving all God has for me, and that's something that I tend to forget a lot.
Hmm.
So
Ooh,
I feel like that is,
worthy.
yeah, worthy. Yeah, I feel like we are all worthy and we forget that a lot. Okay, I feel like that's a hard question. I think some people should try to really sit in that question. I feel like Kelly, that was an amazing answer. Like, it's definitely not wrong for sure. But think about it. Like, just, I don't know. It's just like so hard to answer. That's all I had to say. But I feel like the next question was really easy to answer. Like, what are our roles? Like, I feel like that was the easiest one to answer by far, even more easier than the skills, because I kind of know my roles in my life. Does anyone want to share some of their roles outside of being a woman and maybe a mom? I think everyone's a mom. Is everyone a mom here? I don't even know. Anyways, doesn't really matter. But or like a wife, a daughter, like anything else that they felt like they were?
Like, I give writing lessons. I'm a writing instructor, coach.
Cool.
I'm a team player, and I do that in everything, whether it's in my sports and tennis, whether it's in the family or it's here with Plexus. I'm a team player and damn good at it.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm confident in that area. Sorry.
I feel like we're all teachers too, because we all teach. I know a lot of people may not think that they teach, but we all have, like, we all run these meetings, and that's like exactly what we are. We're teachers.
Encouragers.
Some of us as teachers. Would you say preachers?
Encouragers.
Yes, encouragers.
Encouragers, supporters. Yeah.
Yeah, supporters. Love that. Love those.
We're all students too. We wouldn't be here if we weren't students. Isn't that
Yeah.
kind of cool? Because
I
every
love
one of
that.
us here is interested in that personal growth.
Mhm.
Yeah. I feel like we're all, even just like learning about the products and the ingredients
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I love that. Okay. So in part 3, it talks to resolve to persist. I feel like this is one of the bigger things, because these are like it's our why-tos. It's like, what's pushing us to not stop. So I'm going to read this. But when you resolve to persist, you become fundamentally unstoppable. It means that you basically are going to keep going no matter what. So when you move beyond positive thinking, beyond motivation, you just get stuff done. So if we can get to that state of resolve to persist, that there's nothing that can't stop us with our goals and our dreams and all that kind of stuff. So finding that thing that will help us persist, our Y2s, our ultimate Y2s, that's what's going to help us to move forward. So I'm going to read this one thing and then I'm going to ask you the question and we can talk about some of the things that we can persist on. Or if you guys have anything to add, it says, the key is to know when you have too many red lights in a particular direction. Maybe you do need to take another path. The more you're in touch with your intuition, your authentic self, the more you will know when you need to keep going in the direction and when to take different ways. There are plenty of paths to success. I think we talked about that. There's so many ways to success. And ask yourself why you will never stop until you get there. So, what is something that will help you never stop until you get there? Why I will persist. What's your ultimate Y2? Does anyone want to share what their ultimate Y2 is? Like reasons why they will persist? Again, I felt like it was a hard question to ask.
Because I want to get to that next level. I want to be able to finally get to where I'm actually getting to spend, like have extra money.
My email?
Like,
Oh, Tava, you might want, I can mute her actually.
So have tons of tables.
Go ahead.
so, because like being senior gold, it's just, but I've got 6 of us on the supplement, so it pays for all of it, right? But I haven't actually got to use that money for anything else, so that's what I'm working towards to get to that goal. But I'm like, well, if I quit now, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I can't quit. I want to get
But
to
is that
myself.
Is that pushing you to be unstoppable, you think? I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm just asking the question.
I don't know if that, I feel like even like this last week, I just burn out a little bit. So to listen to this chapter today, I was like, okay, persistence. I just got to keep going, because it's just helping a lot of new people, but it's like I'm frustrated because it's like my people aren't helping their people. I'm the one doing it all.
Yeah.
So it's taking that next step that I need to in my business, that it's scary, but having some conversations, but it's I don't know, but that's but for real, I'm I have there's things going on where I'm I need to get to that next step. I have to keep going. So that's kind of driving me because I don't see any other way out.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, because the important thing is if any red lights come up and it stops you, then that Y2 is not good. That's not large enough. I don't want to say it's not good enough. I'm just saying not large enough to keep you persistent.
Yeah.
That's important to understand. So if there's stuff that you've been using as you're like, oh, I'm doing this for my children, but then you're not really doing it every day, I promise you, as much as you love your children and they're amazing and great, that Y2 is not strong enough to get you to where you want to go. I'm not saying it's not an easy question, but this is a question that we need to find out in order to keep us moving forward. And maybe this could be the one thing that's not pushing us to the next level. We haven't figured out what our drive and our focus and what our Y2 or our persistent, what is it? What's persisting us to move forward is not strong enough to get us to keep going and to not stop. I'm telling you, I haven't necessarily found mine. So
I feel for me, retirement, I'm 63, so retirement means a fixed income, right?
mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're going to be okay. My husband keeps talking about wanting to retire sooner, and I really want to be able to help him. That is a huge desire of mine. But what keeps me going is I'm scared to death to live on a fixed income. I've always made enough to do the things I want to do. And so for me with this business, that's what this is about. It's about bringing in the extras so I don't have to worry, so I don't have to think. And I love this part of how I spend my day. I love communicating with people. I love helping friends. I mean, absolutely love the idea of being able to help young people that are struggling financially or struggling with their health, and old people, right? But being able to do that for me is such a passion that I think that's what's driving me right now. And that's what keeps me super excited moving forward.
I do feel like, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. If you guys don't believe this is totally fine. I feel like money is never, typically not always a long-term why too. It doesn't always push you. And
It's not
so
enough.
when you said, Gigi, like helping people, that really makes you excited and lively, like that's a why too, that's going to get you out of the bed and get you excited to work every day. Whereas like the money about the future, about so you can retire, does that, I mean, maybe
Well,
exciting.
the reason I said
I
that,
don't know.
no, you're
Yeah.
100% right. But the reason I said that is
Yeah.
because that to me was a limiting thing. And so
Yeah.
I want to not be in that feeling of having that limitation.
Yeah.
So if I am helping others and I get to live the life that I want to live, and that was part of this chapter also, was
Yeah.
choosing what's the perfect day, right? And for me, it includes travel. It includes going on a girls' trip. There's things that I like to do that Mike doesn't like to do.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But if we're on a really tight budget, I won't be able to get to do that.
Yeah.
So getting to help others is helping me to achieve that goal. And it's all helping me to have that freedom and flexibility.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
That's what drives me forward.
That's exciting. Does anyone else have anything else to add?
I really struggle with this one, the ultimate why too. And I think it shifts, in the beginning, it might be so like for me it was my why was to replace my dental hygiene income. And I did that. And now what? And I'm in this like, and like every month, like desperately like ending, at $1,450 and desperately seeking orders to get to $1,500 at the end of the month. And it's just my why too has kind of shifted from, okay, I achieved that, but I want others to achieve that. So like, I want everyone on my team to be able to replace their income. And so that kind of shifts, but is that, it really does. It makes me so much happier than my own wins,
Yeah.
but then I question, like, is that my ultimate why too? And then,
I feel like it can change. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
one thing or another. It's just whatever drives you to work. It could be multiple things too. I feel like it's not just one thing. It could be multiple things that just push you to work. And if it pushes you to work and gets you excited, then that's a why too. And you can have like 5 different ones. I feel like I don't feel like there's just one thing. So if that's one of the things on your list, I think you need to use it and write it up somewhere so you're seeing it every day and reminding yourself every day.
Yeah. Thank
So
you.
okay, so we're going to go to the last part of it, which is release your spirit. And this is the final part. This is like the end of like all the building blocks. Like this is like the final thing. He says like, if you could teach secret code of success, that would be like the 3 words that you would say is release your spirit. I think it's kind of like hard to like, I don't know, like when people say release your spirit, like what do people think of? I don't know. I was like, I don't even know what that really means. Like your inner self, like, what do you guys think it means? Release your spirit.
Yeah.
Like your inner self. I don't know. That's kind of what kind of went to me. I was like, maybe it's just like releasing who you really are to the world and just being authentically yourself all the time.
Dump your garbage.
Yeah. That's kind of what we're going to be talking about. So I love how they say you can sum up human emotion in 2 different sentences. And one was, when your opinions of your past, present, and future tend to be positive, you're happy. And when your opinions of your past, present, and future tend to be negative, you're unhappy. So this is like mindset to a key. And like, if you guys have ever been coached by Emily Gibson, it's literally like opinions. Our life is full of opinions, and our opinions about whether it's good or bad defines if we're happy or sad. It's our opinions about our past, our present, and our future is what affects everything. So if you have a bad opinion about your past, I guarantee you, when you look back on your past, it's going to make you unhappy. But I bet you could have a maybe brother and sister that look at their opinion of their past and they can see it completely different, which the most thing in common is everything is basically our opinion.
In our head.
Yep, it's all inside our head. And if we can recognize that when anything happens, it's basically our opinion and our life experiences about our opinion of what happened, whether it was good or bad, is what affects what we think. And so it was very eye-opening to me because it makes you really think of like, wow, like I really do get to decide whether or not if my life is happy or sad. Like I really do get to decide that. I mean, there's some people that have hard things. Like, hello, my husband had cancer. I thought he was going to die. Like I literally thought I was going to be a widow and everything. And I could look back on that or think about my future and be like, I was going to have a really sad future. Like that's what I could have had about it, you know? And so we all have these experiences that change that. So, so they talk about 3 different stages to release your spirit. So it's forgive your past, appreciate your present, and step into your best future. So you don't have to necessarily share, but if anyone wants to share anything about like forgiving your past, is there anything? I know it's kind of a vulnerable thing. I felt like this chapter was very vulnerable about things that we like need to forgive that we're still holding on to so tightly. That was like, we were wronged so bad and holding on to that. One of the things that they say is like, forgiveness isn't really for the other person. It's for us. And so once we recognize that forgiveness is for us and that we don't need the other person to forgive us in order to forgive them or to apologize or anything like that in order to forgive them. So,
I think
go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead.
This chapter really made me think about like a certain instance, like forgiving your past. You bring that up. Like, I really didn't have like a good relationship with my mother till I was probably in my 30s, not because of anything she did, but because of my own opinions about what I thought she thought of me, right? Or what she thought of the choices that I made, when really she wasn't thinking that at all. That was like me projecting that onto her, right? So, and I remember one time we were sitting down and we had a conversation and I was talking to her about how, you know, I have had a lot of regrets for the things that I did and what I put my parents through, and what they lost because of me. And she's like, I don't know how you see it that way. Like, I really don't. She's like, if you hadn't have done those things and we hadn't have gone through that experience, then we would not be where we are today. Like we would not be, you know, like I made a lot of decisions and basically my parents had to mortgage their house to put me in treatment when I was 17 and they lost their house. And I've always carried so much guilt about that. And, you know, so when we were talking about that, I was, you know, my mom was like, you don't even understand, like, if we wouldn't have done that, who knows what would have happened to you if we hadn't have done that. I will lose my house 10 times over than the thought of possibly losing a kid. And, you know, she's like, and then she started pointing out all these things that she had gained and learned about herself and about her family, about how much that it had brought up for her and things that she hadn't dealt with, that if we hadn't have gone through that experience, she doesn't know that she ever would have, because it brought that out. So in having that conversation, it really like opened my eyes to like, I've been carrying all this guilt about these certain things, but my mom hasn't felt that way. She's actually been grateful that all these things happened because of what she's gained or what we've gained from them. And so I think it's a matter of perspective. And I think at that moment in time, I was able to like let go and say, oh, she's not carrying this stuff. Like I'm carrying this stuff. And it left the door open. And now my mom and I have this great relationship. And, you know, I would say that she's my best friend and I go to her for everything. But it wasn't anything that she did or that she changed. It was me. I had to change my thought and how I felt and what I thought she was feeling about me, because none of that was true.
Yeah, other people's opinions are what? Theirs, not yours.
Yeah.
What's the saying? I don't even know the saying. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I so appreciate it. Yeah, it's just shows you that we don't know really what other people are thinking. And so that's for them to think, and it's not our opinion about it, that it just messes everything up. It makes things harder. And so it says right here, when you do not forgive your past, you are bound to the past by chains that are stronger than steel. It's that burden that's constantly, just weighing you down and stopping you from being like your authentic, potential, happy self. So, the next part is appreciating your present time. And so I must have forgotten to highlight this part, but I think the biggest thing, and I think one of the things that I love that Whitney has really embedded in us is to do like the 5 things you're grateful for. And those are things that you're grateful for currently. So if you're not doing that now, I feel like that is one of the biggest things, because again, like when you're in the moment, you may not be grateful for the things, but there are some things that are good in your life. And if you can say, okay, I'm not okay with my husband having cancer, but I'm healthy. My kids are happy. We're, not in debt right now. Like all these different things, I could like look for all the good things in the present. And when we find those things in the moment, you can still be happy in the moment. And so, but someone else who could be going through that same situation, they can be like, oh, I mean, how does life look like between those two? It's like completely 2 different things.
Yeah,
And
I think practicing gratitude is key. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
That's so important, and looking for that every single day.
And one of the things they talk about is that most people don't appreciate what they have until something bad happens. And so like, I can totally attest for that. Like, I'm telling you, I can totally attest for that. And so if we can get to that space where we're already appreciating things right now before something bad happens, like he talks about September 11th, my husband was there during Hurricane Katrina. He was actually in Mississippi. He was in the eye of the storm. He saw all these people lose their houses. And so like, we don't need to wait for something bad to happen to appreciate what we have. And that's typically what happens. Like something bad happens, and then we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for everything. We bring our kids closer. We're so grateful for our kids. But if we're grateful for them in the moment, without something bad happening, that'll help us be happier. And I do think it's just kind of like a skill that we need to learn over time. Like, it's not really like taught to us. Like, people tend to go to the negative. And so if we're constantly thinking about the 5 things you're grateful for every day, that can help us in that spot. And then what's last but not least?
The future.
The future.
Stepping into the future.
Picking your perfect day, not like your perfect extravagant on the beach day, your perfect average day. We don't really have a lot of time to necessarily talk about that because we're kind of wrapping it up right now. But if you haven't sat down and wrote what your perfect average day, something that you would do every single day that would make you happy, I want you guys to do that. That's going to be big, because if you start looking at that thing, start looking at those steps of what makes your day great. It's part of one of the exercises. So it's one of the things you should be doing. Like I said, but we ran out of time, so we won't ask any questions. I just want to say a couple of things. So I want to read a couple of these things. I highlighted them because I think they stood out to me the most. To release your spirit represents the highest level of success, happiness, and fulfillment, because you finally stop worrying about money and making people happy. You simply express who you really are and let yourself prosper as you prosper others. That's what the 3% already do. So the wonderful thing is, as you give yourself permission to succeed, you also give others the same permission. Don't you love that? I love when we start being successful. Don't you guys look at other people and you're like, oh my gosh, if they can do it, I can do it. We're giving other people permission to succeed when we try to do these things too. That's why to release your spirit represents the culmination of this work and brings us full circle back to the gaining and giving of the unconditional support we all need to be who we really are. And that's going to really give us that who we really are sentence, like who we really are. I think it's all encompassing, trying to figure out what we really want and what we really need. That's why I feel like this chapter is really hard, because it's really sitting down, recognizing what you want to be, what you want your future to look like, and who you are now, so that you can show up for that future and be everything you're supposed to be. Shouldn't it be easy, guys? I was like, this seems really, but we don't need to make it difficult. I really feel like if we just answer these questions and do these exercises, it'll really help us fine tune these things. And I feel like you can come back to them often. And then it can really help you, because it'll change over time. I feel like our roles will change over time. I mean, Gigi doesn't have any kids. I mean, she's still a mom, but she's like, when you don't have kids in the house, your roles are a little bit different. Like your average day will be a little bit different, you know?
My daughters are moving in with me.
Oh, okay. Maybe they'll come back to the same.
What timing? What timing?
Oh, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. So this is all about finding your because. That's what the whole chapter was about. Does anyone else have anything that they loved about it, that they got out of in the last few minutes?
No, I just want to say you lead very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I just kind of went over the chapter. Yeah, this book makes it very easy to teach, because it puts it in like bullet points, and so we can just talk about different things. But I think the biggest thing for me was like just really finding out who I am and how to show up, like, and like they talk about the zone of genius, really showing up with the type of person I want to be and really honing in on that, and then doing the things around that that make me successful, because it'll make me want to do it. So it won't feel like work. And sometimes Plexus can feel like work to me. And you know, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with work, but because I know I'm a hard worker, but we want to naturally just like have a lot of fun, right? We want to be like Carol and have fun.
It's important to have fun, because when you're not having fun, then you're just not motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really challenge you guys to go back and answer these questions. I mean, it's still a lot of work it's not a lot of work. That's a mindset thing. It'll help you answer some of these questions that will really help you be motivated to be excited about your future, and things will feel great. And then I love the 10 affirmations. Why am I fundamentally unstoppable? Start saying your affirmations, if anything, right? All right, ladies, if there's nothing else, it's 3:00.
Are we doing chapter 11? It's like kind of
I didn't even look at it.
a couple pages.
You should just do the whole Act 3, the next thing. It's like,
Yeah,
what,
it should
6
be the-
pages?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's it. It's like, it's just
Kind of just a good sum up of like the book, but it was like, yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, you're right. Act 3. I agree with Amy.
well, Act 3, it's just chapter 11, and then chapter 12 is my free bonus gift.
Well, they have chapter 13
Right.
too. So
And then
spread
chapter
the word. Does that
13.
spread the word? Oh, that's just like give
Yeah.
more.
You have a chapter 13?
That
Yeah.
there's like just like tell people about it. It's like how you do business.
Mhm.
He's trying to make more
Yeah.
money, right?
Yeah.
I should
So
have just
basically chapter 11.
just went over it, but that's okay.
I thought
I didn't read it.
Trying to sell you the CDs or something.
I felt like, I mean, I listened to it this morning, but it was just kind of, I think it was more like, I don't know, just kind of a summary of just everything of just,
Is I listened to it also, and then I was confused because Audible says there's an hour and 50 minutes left on Audible, and I was like, what? So I don't know if they read like all of the
They probably
sources, or
mine just only went through, it was like what it was like 6 minutes or something like that of chapters 11, and then it was done.
okay. Maybe I was looking at my
Probably-
screen wrong.
Or you could have bought an extended version or something.
I don't know.
I don't know what Winnie would want to do, but I feel like it would be not a waste, but not good time management if we just did one whole hour on chapter 13. Maybe we can talk about our next book or what we want to do moving
Yeah.
forward. Planning meeting, maybe, I don't know.
yeah.
And maybe sum up her thoughts on the whole book next week or something.
And talk about, she may want to talk about the getting your product started group.
Oh yeah, I thought, wasn't it
She's
supposed to
doing
start
that
this week?
tonight.
Is she doing the Zoom tonight?
She's,
I don't get it. It sounds like it's like a team meeting call,
I don't
but
know.
it's in the product paid for thing. I'm like so confused about this whole thing.
I just
But-
know, I thought it was supposed to start today, but I don't really know what's going on, to be honest.
Yeah.
When does
Is
she
she
get
back?
back?
She gets back today.
Oh.
Said she would be on
She's traveling
tonight
now.
for something.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
looking to-
I don't know. Somebody logged in as me, but then I don't know. It's still recording. So I'm going to stop it though.
Love you. I gotta go.